Saab, an interesting, quirky brand with years of pedigree and ingenuity, however, unfortunately, died a bad, terrible death. Started out in the aerospace sector building planes for World War II, they needed to expand a bit further once that war ended, and so the Saab 9-2 was born, shortly followed by the Saab 9-3 and the Saab 9-5. They even had some success in the World Rally events and decent finishes in Le Mans. But where did it all go wrong? Some say the involvement with General Motors hit the Saab brand with some profit prioritization, trying to save costs here and there, and Saab, in a very Swedish way, said, "Nej." And this is my 2008 Saab 9-3, and it is a wonderful thing. I've had it for a year, and it hasn't missed a beat once. Admittedly, yes, the alternator decided to kill itself, and I've had to replace every single brake disc on there, but it's not a problem to me at all. I've probably spent about £300 over the course of the year, and I paid £1,500 for it. So, overall, it's a great car. It's only got a 1.9 turbo diesel because I couldn't afford the twin turbo one. However, that being said, it is the most comfortable, reliable, surprisingly, Vauxhall you could ever buy. And as opposed to seeing the BMW estates, the Audi estates, all in which I've had, I think you don't see enough of these, and they are great cars. So I've decided to pay homage to the fact and bring it as close as I could to where they originally came from, Scotland. So driving through the highlands of Scotland has really made me realise that this is almost one of the most perfect cars that I personally could have owned. There's so much space. It's one of the most comfortable drives that you could possibly ask for. But being Scandinavian or from Sweden, it has its quirks. Don't get me wrong. After all, it is a Saab. Saab really originated from the days of safety and ingenuity regarding just odd things. For example, the key is in the center console because they figured when you crashed, a lot of the time the key went directly into your knee. So that's one thing that no one else has thought of. I mean, at the end of the day, this is a Vauxhall Insignia, tarted up and spent way too much money on, but give me the Saab any day instead of the Vauxhall. Saab's ingenuity doesn't stop there. They include things that not everyone would have thought of. For example, you've got the night panel, which, when you're motorway driving, you click the panel and everything shuts off apart from the speedometer up to 80 miles an hour. And then if you really put your foot down, it illuminates the rest of it up. And to me, I think that's just one of the coolest things. It's basically halfway to being Knight Rider, and everyone wants Knight Rider. But as I'm stuck in traffic here, in the Highlands for some reason, there are some other odd things. Mechanically speaking, I may have said earlier that I've only spent £300 on, but that doesn't mean that there isn't any more to spend on it. So, at the moment, every 300 miles or so, the exhaust emission valve decides, no, No. Your fuel economy is way too high. So we're going to cut that in half and make you expel a load of white smoke out of your exhaust and under the car, and it will go all in the cabin and make you want to die. So that's one thing that's not so great. The window has just given itself up because sometimes it closes, sometimes it doesn't. But that's the Swedish way. Who needs windows? No one. No one needs windows. The majority of the time in this car, I am motorway driving or driving through country lanes, and I haven't taken it to a track because I do not trust it enough. It's still a Saab, and you have to be somewhat sympathetic. There are things that could go so wrong so quickly. For example, the turbo. The moment that goes, the car is basically just and however, after having this for a year, and I have had Audis, I've had a Land Rover, I've had a Honda actually, and this has been more reliable than every single one of them. I've taken it to Scotland because, in my opinion, that's the best place for it. And after driving around for over, 2,000 miles so far, it has managed to tackle everything I've thrown at it, even a 23% hill, up a ski slope actually. So it is certainly well within its zone. And it's the closest I could get to Sweden, so I didn't really fancy getting a ferry. There are other little quirks as well, like these fancy ass air conditioning, which the air conditioning works very well. I haven't had to top it up in a year, and it's been the hottest year in this country on record. So credit where credit's due to the Saab there. I had low hopes when I bought this car. I bought this car for £1,500 and I traded in an Audi A3, and so I only ended up paying about £1,000 for this car. I've put so far 28,000 miles on it, maybe even more actually if I remember correctly, and it has not missed a beat. The alternator did decide to kill itself, but again, that was £150 to fix, and the only other thing I've done from that is the brakes, which typically still do not work properly. But going through these undulating and hilly roads of Scotland is just the perfect place for it. I have not been more comfortable in a car. Yes, it could be faster, but all the roads have a 60-mile-an-hour speed limit, and you don't want to be going faster than that around here. Trust me, because that is one thing you do not want to be doing around here. And once you put your foot down, it really fucking flies. Thanks to the turbo on this tiny little 1.9 diesel engine. The torque, however, is around 230. So either way, you're going to have some fun. They do a twin turbo option, which I couldn't afford, as I mentioned earlier, but if I'm honest, this does everything I need. But there is one other car that Saab made, the final version, which I'm still yet to get my hands on, the Saab 9.5, and that is just almost the pinnacle of what Saab could have created and could have become. And it's just one of those car manufacturers that, at the end of the day, they've just gone. And we can thank General Motors for that. A company that kept Vauxhall in business as opposed to Saab.